Before we get started with a motivating data set, we need to cover the very basics of R. I'm going to start with objects. And we're going to use a very simple example here. Suppose a high school student asks us for help solving several quadratic equations of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We know the quadratic equation gives us the solution, shown here. One advantage of programming language is that we can define variables and keep such expressions general. So, if we are asked to solve x squared plus x minus 1 equals 0, and we're going to use the quadratic equation, we can define a to be 1, b to be 1, and c to be minus 1. In R, we do that using the assignment symbol, which is a less than followed by a minus. Note that it looks like a little arrow. You're assigning 1 to A, you're assigning 1 to B, you're assigning minus 1 to C. Note that we can also use the equal sign for assignment, but we recommend against it because using it can cause confusion. Try this out in your console. Try to define A, B, and C in your console. Note that R does not print anything out when you make these assignments. This is good. Had you made a mistake, you would have received an error message. To see the values stored in a variable, we simply type it like this. We type A in the console, and when we hit return, R shows us the value stored in A, which is 1. A more explicit way to ask R to show us the value that's saved in a variable is to use the print function like this. So we write print, parentheses, and inside the parentheses, the object name A. We use the term object to describe stuff that is stored in R. Variables are examples, but objects can also be more complicated entities such as functions, which are described later. As we define objects in the console, we are actually changing what is called the workspace. You can see all the variables saved in your workspace by typing ls parentheses parentheses. This is a function that shows you the names of the objects saved in your workspace. If you type it here, you will see as an answer A, B, and C, the 3 objects we have defined. IDEs usually have a tab that if you click on it, it actually shows you all these variable names. Now, if you try to recover the value of a variable that is not in your workspace, you'll receive an error. For example, if you type x, which we haven't defined, you will receive an error message that says, error, object x not found. Now, since these values are saved in variables, to obtain a solution to our equation, we use the quadratic formula. We type it out in R. We do that, we get 0.61 for the first solution and negative 1.61 for the second one.